Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
You always get kind of a sense you think you know somebody that's a personality, whether it's on radio or television or even maybe somebody that's a part of Hollywood, and you like what you see. Sometimes you don't. Always love what I heard or saw and who he was as Kenny Mayne. And then I got to know him, not really personally, but got to know him when he was Wounded Warrior amputee flag football games and what he's done for wounded warriors and veterans. And Kenny Mayne, formerly for a long time of ESPN, now a free agent, joins us on SicEm365 Radio, as good as a person as you could possibly have. Kenny, you've covered free agents for a long, long time in your career, and now you are one. What's it like?
It feels freeing. Actually, you had it slightly off. I still have 2 shows to go. So end of the month is the end of my contract. The last show is Monday. I work Saturday and Monday's the grand finale. Now it feels weird because I've been kind of half in, half out here since, May 10th, I guess, a couple Mondays ago. That was kind of like when we all, both sides agreed, okay, this is not going to work. And I still had some shows left on the schedule that had already been put, we go a month at a time, right? And I said, I should finish my schedule, right? Like, instead of quitting on the project. All it meant was if I said I'm good, John Anderson would have to come in 3 extra days, or Bucci or Eves, or, Nabil, somebody, right? So, and it's kind of fun in a way, like, saying goodbye to all my friends. We're trying to have good shows. Last night's got a little looser than most shows, but we were also on ESPN2 up against the Lakers Warriors, who was watching us anyway.
Kenny, will you, if your next thing isn't, doing a highlight show or anything like that, will you miss that particular part of it? Because you are one of the true artists of picking random words and making them work with highlights.
There's no question I will miss immediately, I think. Because it's funny right now, you have, like, my schedule was roughly 12 or 13 shows a month, and you're just kind of recovering on the other days. I mean, sometimes I do some other outside projects, but you might work 2 days, have a day off. Work 3 days, have 1 day off. Work, pretty soon you get up to 12, 13, 14 shows a month. And that's roughly the same for most. Some people do a couple more, some people do a couple less. And when you're not on air, you really do like, it's kind of fun. I'm tired, but I'd rather go back and call a Steph Curry game. It's fun. And the immediacy of it, like we've had, 6 no-hitters now. We had another one last night. We had one the night before. And to be working on those nights when something crazy happens, and everything has to be adjusted on the fly. Like, it really is fun. It's a fun job. Tiring, and especially as you get older, the recovery isn't as good. I'm sleeping until 11 and eating at 1 o'clock and, driving through the day, try to exercise and go back and do it again. But I will also like the freedom to go do a bunch of fun projects that maybe I wouldn't have been able to do at ESPN. So you got me for a couple more highlight calls Saturday and Monday night.
Well, you mentioned the options that you might have. Does the current landscape make it maybe a little less daunting to leave a place like ESPN because there are so many different, companies and shows and things like that have sprouted up, and just so many different avenues to also deliver entertainment as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding that. I am fortunate and thankful a whole bunch of people have reached out, and, no decisions are being made yet. I have one decision. One thing I have always done, or quite often done at ESPN, was be in the commercial making, not just the Sports Center ones, but like, for advertisers, right? Mm-hmm. And I was involved in the upfronts every year, helping sell ESPN, as a place, to put your ads. So I actually made an advertising arrangement with a company called Olipop. It's like a healthier soft drink, right? Less sugar, like 2 grams. And I was already a fan of it. Like, I was trying to quit the sugary stuff and get on something healthier. And just almost half joke, half serious on Levitard's show the other day, I told him, hey, I'm going to definitely, one thing I'm going to try to do is make commercials, pitch myself, either I'm in them or make them to other people. And I, kind of kidding, like, hey, Olipop, I'm talking to you. I got an idea for you. And they literally got a hold of me on Twitter. I called the guy with I answered back. They were going to send me a case. I was like, yeah, I don't want a case. I want to make a commercial. Like, we already have a case. We're on your mailing list. So yeah, that's my first thing I'm doing, I guess, tomorrow, and that's even before I'm leaving ESPN. So that's good.
How long are they going to give you? Is it a regular show Monday, or are they going to give you some extra time?
I think it's a 2-hour. I think it's 11 to 1. I think, or is it 11 to 12:30? I don't even know. It's either 90 minutes or 2 hours. Half the time I just show up, tell me what time I'm on, what channel. Like, you know, you show up at like 6-ish most of the time. Lately, I've been pushing it toward 8. But, you know, there ain't that much to write. Like, in the old days, we wrote a lot more. We wrote a lot more lead-ins. You know, the on-camera, like, you know, the Cubs are playing the Mariners and blah, 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 and then the highlight. Right now, we show more video and get direct to it. The researchers hand us the research-type material. You know, that was the 5th time in 7 games, blah, 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 right? So you can get ready for a show as far as the mechanics of it, at least I can, in under an hour usually. And then I'm waiting for games, waiting for the notes on the games and watching the big games and, you know, waiting for 11 o'clock to happen. So I always wanted to do a show. I don't know if you remember, they did that a couple times, through the behind the scenes, how is SportsCenter made. I think they did it twice, maybe 3 times. And it was like a live look at the production, how it works. Then you went to the show itself, right? And sort of like alternate program. And I was always saying, what if we did a show where we showed up at 10 o'clock to be on at 11? Just how would we do it? How crazy would it be? You know, how intense would you have to get? But they can do that, I guess, on their own. They didn't go for that one while I was there.
Kenny, I got to say, as I was preparing and getting some audio for the show today and looking up, so I fell down a Kenny Mayne YouTube hole that lasted probably 90 minutes. I'm not going to lie, today I was just watching stuff. You had a line that I think is one of the funniest things I've ever heard on television, and it was an Andre Agassi, and it was just like one of these, somebody put together just a montage of clips from you forever. And you said it was an end of an Andre Agassi tennis match, and he jumped over the net to like go congratulate, I think it was Michael Chang. And it was Andre Agassi wins in straight sets. Now he jumps over the net to pummel Michael Chang and steal his racket. And I have never laughed so hard for so long sitting alone in my house.
I'm vaguely remembering that. That's funny because sometimes people will bring something up and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that night. Like, you know, there's been these funny little moments along the way. That one, I'm going to have to, I'm going to admit I don't remember saying that. But, yeah, there's, you know, and the other two is all the features, because remember for a long time I was doing the pretend football stories for a long time, 12 years. And so every Sunday on Countdown, you know, they do the regular reporting and the injuries and the, you know, the matchups, and then they'd go to me for my, you know, ridiculous take on whatever we were doing. And, you know, some didn't turn out as well as others, but something's always going to be the best and something's going to be the worst. The one that always stands out to most is the Marshawn Lynch at Applebee's in Buffalo. And basically the background on it was Willis McGahee was their running back. Marshawn was the rookie. McGahee left to Baltimore. And he kind of trashed Buffalo on the way out of town. Like, you know, it's so boring. There's nothing to do. They got Applebee's and the Dave & Buster's, whatever. And, you know, don't even start on the women. You know, that was his whole line, right? And so we said to Marshawn, hey, we're going to play it like you enjoy the women of Buffalo. You respect them and love them, and you love Applebee's and you love Dave & Buster's. So we went to all these places and just had fun. You know, once we kind of set Marshawn up, he had some lines we kind of gave him, but all the rest was just him being him. And it was a great meeting with him, and, you know, we became closer later when he played for the Seahawks, and he's going to be on Monday's show to say goodbye.
Well, he was just on Westworld. You essentially launched his acting career, Kenny.
I feel like I did, for real. I don't get any credit for it, but I was also in a commercial with him. Man, the year before the horrible incident at the goal line, we call it, the incident at the goal line against the Patriots. So the week before, you know, they're still in Seattle before they're going to Arizona for the Super Bowl. And I had a story idea that I thought worked for him, but they weren't interested, so I sold it instead to Progressive Insurance. And we made basically the same premise of what was going to be a 2-minute TV story, made it to a 30-second commercial where Marshawn didn't want to talk, you know, that whole thing where he was talking to the media. But once he heard the word insurance, he just couldn't stop talking. He had lots to say about, you know, tariff of insurance and all the different rates and whatever. I don't remember all the lines, but he was great. He's such a good guy, and he's so, you know, so real is overused, but it's true. He's just so genuine, like, and also does so many good things that get unnoticed. He doesn't wave his hands like, look at me, I'm doing all this, but he's just been so good for the kids, for Special Olympics, for helping, you know, kids in tougher areas, you know, get outfitted for school. And I remember in particular, he had left the Seahawks. He was right then. He was, I think he was in that period where he sort of retired and then maybe came back, but he wasn't in Seattle anymore. He'd moved back down to Oakland, and there was a big Special Olympics event that I was invited to go to, and, you know, just meet the kids and do some speaking or whatever I did. And Marshawn was on the original list, and it was like, oh shoot, he won't be here because he moved back to Oakland. And sure enough, around the corner rolls in Marshawn Lynch. Like, he committed to be there, and he showed up on his own, and the kids loved him. Taking pictures, and he's clowning with them like he always does. And, he's a good one. I think he's gonna do a whole bunch of things. Like, he really is a funny, genuinely funny guy. He has that Oakland accent going on. So he's gonna do fun. Who knows what he'll do next? He'll do something good. He's already doing it.
Yeah, he's got great timing, hilarious, all that. Yeah, I think he's got definitely a bright future doing whatever. Kenny, what's been the reaction on your end just since this became public? Just the reception, the text messages, and all of that. Has it been overwhelming? Has it been humbling? What's that been like on your end?
I'd say both. Yeah, like people use that word humble, and it's true. That's how you feel, like I'm not worthy of it, or like I can't believe that's how people Because I said not jokingly. Well, I mean, I meant it seriously, but I said it jokingly to a friend. Like, what if I put out a tweet out that I'm leaving and like 9 people like it or something? Like that could have happened, right? Like maybe there was a bunch of other news that day. I kind of got in the weeds there a little bit. I got to retweet my own tweet. Hey, no, really, I'm leaving. Like, say something. But instead, it was funny how it happened. It was 1:00. Gretchen, my wife, had to go pick up Bryn, my stepdaughter, and she had to leave. She was taking off as I'm telling her, we're all done, and she knew what I meant. And that's a lot to handle walking out the door. Like, we didn't really get to discuss it. It happened kind of quick. I was okay with it. I was kind of like, you know what? We think we have some other plans. They set an over/under on me. I'm going to go play myself in the over, and not even saying that like I'm such a big hit. Just saying like that's what I'm going to do. Like, that was my choice. Either stay under circumstances that people wouldn't like. And it's no knock on them. They get to make whatever decision they want. They're going to do great work. They got all the sports. They got good people all left and right. Like, I have no malice. And like I said, I'm sure there's going to be, great people there doing more great things. All the shows are pretty good. So it just won't be with me. So there's a try something else. But yeah, just absolutely stunned at the reaction. Like, I, didn't really put a number on how many people would care, but it was whatever the number I would have made up. This was far more. And then, I very quickly already started talking to people about Project XYZ, and we'll figure out what the heck it is at some point. Right now, I'm going to go on summer vacation. That's my plan. The most immediate plan is to like enjoy. We haven't even gone on a plane since the beginning of the pandemic. I've stayed in Connecticut, done my job, taken dog walks. Hung out at home mainly. Things are starting to improve, and hopefully people are still being careful. But yeah, we're going to take a couple trips. I haven't seen Seattle in 17 months, so definitely want to get back home and see my people.
Kenny, you have an amazing gift, and there's no question about it. I saw the letter you wrote to ESPN when you wanted to ask for a job or if they would hire you. You've always had the sense of humor. Is that something you've always had since you were even like 5, 6, 8, 9 years old?
Yeah, I mean, back then I was just the idiot. I was the youngest of 4 kids and the only boy. And so, yeah, I was probably, running around trying to get attention, jumping over the couch and doing whatever I did. I did not have a polished act back in those days. My grandparents would come over. My sisters are all very talented. One in particular is like still a professional singer, and my nieces as well. So they put on a little performance. They're up there, just killing it with these songs. I'd go up and tuck my ears inside each other or something. I had nothing. I had no game. I'm going to be an idiot. I'm the clown. Look at me. I'd say I basically have done for a number of years what used to get me sent out in the hall in 5th grade, right? Like, let's come up with the most absurd thing right now and try to own the room. So that's still what I do, I guess. It's just influenced by all sorts of people. My dad was funny. His best friend was funny. My friends were funny. I watched Johnny Carson growing up. Like, Get Smart was a key show for me. The Bugs Bunny Hour, the Flintstones, those are the building blocks of doing Sports Center at 11 o'clock.
Part of my YouTube poll did also include Main Street now, which was, I guess the sitcomiest thing that ESPN ever did.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you had a lot of great. I mean, pretty much half the cast of Parks and Rec was with you.
I'd say 90% of the cast. Yeah. Like, that's so funny. He's referring to, for those who don't know, Josh Shelov and Todd Pellegrino, friends of mine, came to me and said, "Hey, we got an idea. What if we take you and the absurd things you already do and take it one more step? Like, kind of have a fictional life of you it didn't do everything. We didn't have like the home life. It was more about my work life. And we just took real things like expense reports. Everybody hates doing expense reports, and you always, somebody questions, what about this thing or what about that? So we took that as an episode. Just the first one we did was probably my favorite. Scott Van Pelt and I doing what's called fixes, and that's, for those who don't know, like the last show of the night.
Oh,
is going to repeat a bunch of stuff, right? So you have to fix it. You have to clean up mistakes. And if you're live, you're live. You try to fix it in the moment if you can. But, the right score, the right name, et cetera. And in this premise, I could not say Rafa Nadal correctly. I just kept calling him Rafi or something else. And Allison Booker, an actress, a friend of mine, she was on Parks as well. She's my producer, and she's like, it's just a whole drama of what it's like to stay till 4 a.m. to fix a show. Van Pelt's like, my counselor, Vikram, says I'm not home enough. That's the problem with my marriage. And I'm like, what? You're blaming me for your marriage? Not just that, but the estrangement from my children, So we had so much fun. Ben Schwartz was on it. John Glazer was on it. Aubrey Plaza, big star, was on it. Mulaney was on an episode, I think. And I'm leaving out people. Lenny Jacobson, Chris Smith, and I'm forgetting a bunch more. I apologize. But so fun doing. And we did them pretty quick. We would shoot an episode. They weren't long. They were like, what were they, 4 minutes or 5 minutes? Whatever they were. We would knock one out usually in one day. Shoot all day and have all the scenes. And, okay, there's that one. And then we'd do the next one. And I think we released them in batches of 8, maybe. I can't remember. 6 or 8. And we did it like, a couple of years on and off. And then for some reason they decided no more. And all those people got hurt at Parks and Recreation and other things. And I continued ESPN. The next thing I did, I liked almost equally well, with some good friends, Matt Doyle and Aaron Fruitman and Mike Andrus. We traveled the world for about 2 years on and off, and we just did some crazy stuff around the world. Irish road bowling and Hornusen and the Palio in Italy, if you want to Google that one, and Muay Thai boxing. I slid down a volcano in Nicaragua. I hit a golf ball off a mountain in South Africa, and on and on and on. And made this thing. It was like a takeoff on Wide World of Sports, right? We called it Wider World of Sports. That was my idea. Like, we added an R to differentiate ourselves from the other show. And that one lasted a few years, and eventually I started going back to Sports Center and some features, and then the last few years just Sports Center. A certain number of shows every year.
Kenny, last thing. When you got into sports broadcasting, obviously you knew you'd get the interview or cover whatever great personalities and names and whatever else. Did you ever fathom that Snoop Dogg and names and people and personalities and others like that would be a part of your sometimes core of who you got to meet and do things with?
No, it is funny. My niece says, Heather, she's like, what is your life? What is this? Why are you with Snoop Dogg? Why did that just happen? She says it's not the way. And it's true. Like, I got to work with Stevie Wonder. That's like my highlight forever. I got him to say I can't be at the All-Star game. I have a high ankle sprain. That was his line. But hey, you mentioned the top before we go, unless you're in a super week. We played all the flag football games with the veterans, and I ruined my ankle playing football back in college for UNLV. And a few years ago, I got this device called an ExoSim from this guy in Gig Harbor, Washington. So Gretchen and I started a foundation called Run Freely, RUNFREELY, runfreely.org. And I just learned from the girl that kind of runs my website, Mara, that helps me out. Since my announcement and all the publicity that attended that with interviews, and I've always plugged in on the interviews, we've raised enough to get 2 more veterans running again.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And we've done almost one a month since we started. Not quite. It kind of slowed down for a minute, but we're going to get back on it. I just asked a famous NFL quarterback if he'd help. I don't want to say his name in case he can't. But, we just want to do some cool little projects along the way to raise more. Because right now we basically raise it by me doing interviews like this. And somebody listening goes, oh, let me check that website. And if you read the story, you'll see what it's about. You see why I needed it. But, I ran 15 miles an hour on day one, and if I couldn't run at all without the brace, right? I would have been limping and hurting for 5 days. And I cried for like 2 hours, and I called Gretchen, and we just seemed to be like, let's do something good. And it's just been amazing to help, Jamal Crawford, Gary Payton, Steve Largent, Jerry Rice, Lenny Wilkins, Steve Kerr, Chris Long, Scott Van Pelt, leaving out many names who have either put their name in front of it or helped donate. And then there's a whole bunch of people who send in 5 and 10s, and they're not as much. Some people, $10 donation is like 100 to me or 1,000 to somebody else. So we appreciate it. And the veterans' letters afterward are amazing. Like, the gratitude's incredible.
Hey, Kenny, thank you. I know many have asked for your time, and we appreciate you. Good luck with what happens with your future. No question it'll be successful. Love watching you, what you're doing. Good luck the last couple of shows and on Monday as well. And thanks for your time. And run freely, FREELY.org is what he was talking